This is one of the problems that are pretty familiar to us, but we tend to have trouble with it a little bit. If we know that f of x is 5x squared plus 2x minus 15, find the limit as x approaches h, f of x plus h minus f of x over h. So our first step is going to be to substitute. And as long as we haven't taken the limit yet, we have to write limit at the beginning of each line of our work. So my first step is going to be to substitute the x plus h into f of x. So 5 times x plus h squared plus 2 times x plus h minus 15. From that, I'm going to subtract f of x, which is just 5x squared plus 2x minus 15. All of that is over h. The next step is going to be expand it before we can simplify. Still haven't taken the limit yet, so I have to begin my work with that limit. Then over the next fraction, it's all going to be about expanding each term in the x plus h, the f of x plus h. So that'd be 5 times x squared plus 5 times 2xh, that'd be 10xh, and 5 times h squared. Then distribute the 2 to get 2x plus 2h minus 15. And then we're going to subtract f of x, which means subtracting every term, so I have to subtract 5x squared, subtract 2x, and subtract negative 15. All of it is still all over h. Now it looks like a mess for a second, but as you look closer, you notice that a lot of things cancel. Like first of all, the 5x squareds. We have plus 5x squared and minus 5x squared. We have plus 2x minus 2x, minus 15 and plus 15. All of those cancel, and everything that we're left with has an h in it. So on my next line of work, still haven't taken the limit yet, so I'm going to keep that limit around. But I'm going to factor an h out of every term that's left in the numerator. Now let me with 10x plus 5h plus 2. All of that is divided by h. The two h's cancel. And now we have the limit, as h approaches 0, of 10x plus 5h plus 2. And we'll see that when we let h go to 0, it's only this one term that turns into 0. Everything else just stays as it is. So this limit is going to be 10x plus 2. A very similar problem is going to be the limit as x approaches a of f of x minus f of a all over x minus a. And our first step, again, we haven't taken the limit, so keep the limit around as x approaches a. But our first step is going to be to substitute. F of x is going to be 5x squared plus 2x minus 15. And from that, we're going to subtract f of a, which is 5a squared plus 2a minus 15, all over x minus a. We look for some things that cancel right away, and the only thing I see are these constants. I got minus 15 minus a minus 15, so those two will cancel. And everything that's left either has x's or a's in it. The trick here is to know how to factor that. The first thing is going to be to distribute that negative sign. So we'll have 5x squared plus 2x minus 5a squared minus 2a, all over x minus a. Then we're going to be able to factor it, but the only way to factor it is to collect terms that are kind of similar, like the x squareds. I'm going to put the 5x squared right next to the minus 5a squared. Then I'll go plus 2x and minus 2a. Then, with that numerator, we can factor it by parts. So I'll cut it into 2 halves. And in the front half, I can factor out a 5. And I'll have x squared minus a squared, which will factor into x plus a and x minus a. On the second half, I can only factor out a 2, and I'll be left with x minus a. And now we see the canceling numerator and the denominator. The x minus a will cancel with each of the x minus a's, or the x minus a in each term of the numerator. So this one cancels with this one and with this one. Now we're left with one more limit as x approaches a of 5x plus 5a plus 2. And we're going to take that limit now and let all the x's turn into a's, meaning this first term is going to turn into a 5a plus this 5a would make 10a plus 2.